In this video I'm going to show you how I solder Traxxas connectors. Now I know there's all sorts of other videos out there showing you how to solder these connectors, so I thought I might as well make one and throw it out there into the mix. So you have one more method you can try. And I find this works. This is the best method in my experience. It gives me the best results time and time again, so I thought I'd share it with everybody out there. First of all, I'll show you all the tools you're going to need. The first thing you'll need is a soldering iron. Now you can go to Radio Shack and buy just a cheap little iron. You want to make sure it's like at least 40 watts or more for about $10 to $20 or so. Or if you want to spend a little bit more money, go onto towerhobbies.com and check out the TC or Team Checkpoint 950, otherwise known as the Hackle 936 soldering station. This thing's great, 60 watts, temperature control, it just has everything. And this station is just amazing. It has a nice little aluminum stand here, cleaning sponge, comes with a few little tips, and I think it runs you around $70 to $80 or so. And yeah, it's just an amazing station for the price. It'll last you forever. And then the other things you also need are some solder, and ideally use 60-40. That's just the mixture between the lead and tin. And then this stuff is 0.03 gauge and 4 ounces. That doesn't really matter. It's just how much solder comes on this roll, 4 ounces of solder. And you want rosin core solder, none of the acid core solder will do. Has to be rosin core. So once again, 60-40 or 63-37, as thin of a diameter as you can get, and rosin core. And then you'll also need a wooden block, of course your connector. And these connectors, if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, you can get little knockoff connectors like this from Hobby King. They're actually really good connectors, is what I use, just because I don't feel like paying $2 or $3 a connector. These turn out being, and these are like, for $6 you get like 20 connectors, so it's just a steal of a deal. And they work just about as well as Traxxas connectors in my opinion. You need some wire strippers, and as for flux, a lot of people don't like to use flux, but I like to use it for tinning wires. It just makes your life a whole lot easier when you're soldering. And this Kester 951 flux is great because it leaves less than 2% of residue behind once you're done soldering, because the rest evaporates and it doesn't corrode at all. It's actually meant for surface mount soldering, like on circuit boards and stuff. So yep, it's awesome solder. You can pick it up on eBay for like, I think it's like $5 for a tube like this, and I've had this for like 6 months now and soldered probably like the equivalent of 10 batteries and still have over half of it left, so it'll last you a good while. I think that's about it. Let's get started. So to start off, what we're going to do is just take your wire, and I don't actually have a battery to solder right now, so I'm just going to use some of this 14 gauge average gauge wire, again from Hobby King, and it's great stuff. I'll just strip about 4 millimeters off the end there, just like that. There you go. So should look something like that. Now you can go ahead and take some of your flux if you decided to use flux, and I like to use the wooden block for this just to make sure the flux is coming out, and just gently push it down on top of your wire until it flows out the bottom onto the piece of wood. You can see right there, right? That shows me that it's flowing completely through the wire. There we go. That's pretty good, just like that. You don't need too much of this flux and it'll pretty much last you forever. Now it's time to just zoom out here a little bit. You can just put your spool of solder on top there just to hold the wire in place. So what I'm going to do now is touch my soldering iron to the bottom of the wire, and then just feed my solder right in between the two. And what this does is it allows the soldering iron to melt the solder, and then just feeds it right into the wire. And because that wire is soaked in flux, it just absorbs it really well and gives you a perfect tinning job every time. And now to pre-tin your tabs, just apply a little bit of solder to your soldering iron and apply that to the tab. Wait a few seconds and then apply some of your solder directly to the tab. Just like that. And that's about all there is to it. So now what I've got set up here is I've just put a little piece of paper towel on top of my block, taken a rubber band and just kind of bound it down to the block. And this will just give you a place to grip onto your wire, because the wire really will heat up a lot, even with the insulation. I've burnt my fingers several times, so I find the paper towels pretty much necessary. And then I just stacked my the tinned part of my wire on top of the tinned part of the tab, And what I'm going to do is take my soldering iron, apply a little bit of solder to the tip, and I apply that right onto the top of everything, and it'll just melt right together. And when you're done, it should look something like that. You'll have a flawless looking joint that will never ever fail you. Look at that, that's just perfect. Couldn't be better. Now all that's left to do is to stick it into your Traxxas plug like that, push it in until it clicks into place. I'm not actually going to be using this, so I'm not going to bother, but yeah, hopefully this video has been of some use to you. Thanks for watching.